And then again, as you said, the directions that it goes, it has these very interesting turns that happen sort of unexpectedly and great stakes because you basically are wondering, well, is the ship compromised? And if it is, does, do they turn back?
Oh Lord, please don't let me be misunderstood.
Well, and I watched the film last night and I absolutely loved it. I love space dramas like this. Well, and it went in some directions that I wasn't expecting. So when this script initially came across your desk, what was the main thing that stuck out to you?
Well, I knew that Casey Affleck was attached, so that was the thing that really piqued my interest about it. But then when I read it, I was like, oh wow, this is very smart. This is very cool. I couldn't figure out where it was going, and I just really loved it. So I said, yes, let's go.
Well, and lower budget space can be really hard to pull off. As a veteran actor, what gives you confidence in a director's vision for a project?
The setting was really the thing that sold me on it because it essentially takes place in one location pretty much. You're on this ship and you're moving through space, and then it also has these moments that happened before the mission and where Casey's on Earth and he's being vetted for this mission. And, there's kind of a lottery. There's a lot of people who are vying to get a seat on this ship. And he turns out to be the guy that does it. And, his relationship with his woman and how they negotiate him being away for so long because it's going to require him to be away for over a year. And all that sort of personal stuff was beautiful. And then again, as you said, the directions that it goes, it has these very interesting turns that happen sort of unexpectedly and great stakes because you basically are wondering, well, is the ship compromised? And if it is, do they turn back? Do they go forward? And so those kind of decisions in a small group of people, it's just three people. So there's this whole triangulation thing that's happening, where it's like 2-1, and it keeps switching, and it's really kind of cool.
Well, and your character is really like the guiding light amongst the crew and their paranoia. How was it to play the straight man with everyone around you losing it?
Listen, it's one of those. It's my stock. It's one of the things. It's one of those things that I get called upon to do is to, sort of be the sort of authority figure, whether it's Event Horizon or Boys in the Hood or whatever, or even Morpheus is the captain of his ship too. So captain business I'm fairly good at, and it was fun just playing with both Casey and Tomer. They're just great guys.
Do you prefer that like more straight man role, or do you like it when you get to get a little crazy with it?
I like it all. I mean, it just depends on what it is and how I serve the piece best. I mean, obviously, things like King of New York and What's Love Got to Do with It? Not necessarily straight men, but but good characters, good characters.
Well, and this isn't the first space film, as I said before, that you've been a part of that involves hallucinations and paranoia. And I have to know,
no.
Was Event Horizon brought up at all during filming?
No, we never talked about it.
Really?
Because it's a different kind of hallucination.
Yeah.
This is more psychological. That has a more kind of horror kind of lean. It leans into horror a little bit more than this one.
Yeah, it's hard not to see your face against the space background and immediately have that Event Horizon image.
Sure.
There's a great moment where you lean in and whisper something to Nash, and I caught the first part, which is essentially if you don't get off this fucking bridge, and I was wondering if this moment was scripted or if you had worked out like what you had said to absolutely terrify Nash.
No, it wasn't. It actually wasn't scripted. It was just, I think it's something that Mikael Håfström, our director, gave me. He was like, why don't you just go whisper? I was like, oh yeah, that'll be good.
I love that moment. Well, and so my final question, since you've been working in this industry for over 50 years at this point, what do you always look for in the characters that you play? What's like a standout element?
It's not necessarily what I look for the characters that I play. It's really what I'm looking for. It's not even what I'm looking for. It's what I discover in the story. If there's something about the story, in the storytelling, that's the thing. And with this one, it was, I can't tell where this is going. I have no idea where this is going to end up. And because I couldn't figure out how it was going to end up, it made me excited to be a part of it. Because I thought, okay, if it gets me, then hopefully when we in our execution, we'll get the audience and we'll surprise them too.
I love space movies like this. It could practically be a stage play with how much it just focuses on the ship setting. So thank you. Well, what intrigued you most about this project?
I think you touched upon it a little bit there. You said a stage play on display. It is. I mean, a spaceship is a great arena to tell these kinds of stories. About isolation and solitude and psychological drama. What happens when we throw people out hundreds and millions of miles out in space? We don't know yet because we haven't been there. We have gone to the moon, but that's like around the corner. If we're going to take the next step a couple of generations from now, what's going to happen with these people? Those questions are interesting, obviously, but also it's very fundamental human stuff that the film deals with. Memories and love and loss and all of those things. So that intrigued me.
Well, and space is just incredibly difficult to pull off, yet you do so splendidly. What do you think the trick was? Like, what do you think the key was for a convincing space environment?
I think a lot of things, but I think you need a good script that sort of, that lays this puzzle in a good way. And we worked a lot with that, obviously. And we made a version that we thought worked very well. Second is to get to when you work in such a close environment with characters intensively, you need great actors. And we were very lucky getting Casey Affleck, who I think is one of the finest actors of a generation in America. And obviously also the great Laurence Fishburne, a legend in itself. Tomer Capone, less known, but we've seen him in The Boys, and he's just great. And Emily Beach and the English actors that I worked with before. So that's the key, obviously, when you're gonna tell a tight drama like this. So I was very lucky with the cast. I was very lucky to get these people to help me tell this story.
Well, what was it like to craft these performances with such talented actors? Because obviously Casey Affleck and Laurence Fishburne are such heavy hitters. They
read and they really liked it. We were not forcing them in there. I mean, we sent the script to some agents that had clients that we liked, and Casey called me and had read it and said, look, I didn't know Casey from before, I never worked with him, but he said, look, I read this. I'm really intrigued by this guy, the character he was going to play, and we had some conversation, and he was on board. And the same with Laurence. He read it on a plane on the way from a shoot to another, and he called and said, I really dig this. So it was easy. We didn't went out to 20 actors and get no's and maybes and all of that. Those guys came on board, and we had the movie. It's an independent movie. Not a lot of money. It's not $100 million movie. Very, very far from it. So we needed the power of these guys, to get it done.
Well, and I also feel like I need to mention Emily Beecham, because she's only in the film for a bit, but she has such a presence to her, and I was absolutely blown away by her performance. Was Zoe always intended to be such an anchor for John?
Yes, I'm really happy you put your finger towards Emily. Emily is a brilliant British actor. I worked with her in a couple of films ago, a film called Outside the Wire with Anthony Mackie for Netflix, where she had a part. And I really, really liked her performance, her personality. So I called her up and said, look, I have this film, and can you read it, please? And she came on board. Yes, she was, Zoe was always important, but with Emily's talent, it made this let's call it a love story, even more intense and complex. It's not a simple love story; it's a complicated love story, or a complicated relationship. And Emily, again, you said it yourself. She's such a fine actress.
She just has that intangible quality. I immediately was like, who is this actress? And immediately went and looked up more stuff from her because she's just so good in it. Well, I have to ask too, so I love the spaceship set. So how do you approach keeping a film visually interesting when you're mostly in just the one location?
Well, that's a very good question again, because we realized very quickly that this is the important character in the film, the ship itself. So I called up Barry Shusid, a production designer, a friend of mine in America. We made a film together some years ago called Escape Plan, a completely different film, but he makes big movies like The Day After Tomorrow. He worked with Roland Emmerich. He makes like $200 million movies. But I said, Barry, I need you to help me design this ship, and he did that, and he did a great circle design, a corridor in a circle, and built the ship around this circle corridor where you never know where you are. You walk around, but everything looks the same, and it was a visually also interesting place to shoot, because we needed, we closed the set. We didn't have walls to take away. We were in the ship, the actors, the DP, and myself, and only the people that necessarily needed to be there. So we worked in this tiny space for days and weeks, and it was very interesting. I think that was a good way of creating the right atmosphere for the actors too.
Well, and the paranoia of the crew really starts to seep into every frame. You had me tricked on several occasions, and I imagine that that's a very fine line to walk. How do you approach the edit for a movie that requires that delicate sprinkling of information throughout the film?
Well, you need to have a great editor. That's the start. No, but that's again, you point at the right people here, and Rickard Krantz is a Swedish editor that I worked with now for 4 movies, I think, in a row. He just have the right mindset. He have the musicality and tonality to sort of finding the best takes, moments. He surprises. You don't when you go and see a scene cut together or a sequence, you don't want to see it exactly how what you had in your head. You want to be surprised. You want him, in this case, to just surprise you and do something that is better than you were thinking. And Rickard have that quality. So you're not alone when you do these things. You need to have good actors, and the DP pair, also a Swedish DP, did a great job. So this I couldn't have done it without them.
The best escape route tends to be towards a lie.
Oh Lord, please don't let me be misunderstood.